So we got some new news and details around Fallout 76, and a lot of this is actually quite exciting, especially for those of you who are PC users. So first and foremost, just a quick disclaimer, as of today, as of like 20 minutes before I started recording this video, you could actually start preloading Fallout 76 on PC for the beta. The download appears to be roughly the exact same size as it was on Xbox One, that with 47 gigabytes. Right now, we don't know when we'll be able to play, but it seems like at some point on Tuesday. I would be hopeful that maybe it's similar to how it worked for Xbox One, so maybe we'll get 4 hours to play on that day. And yes, I will 100% be live streaming that. I am very excited to get to play this game on PC, finally. It's not entirely clear if the beta download will be transferable to the main game download. We know for a fact on Xbox One it won't be, but as far as how that works on PC, whether or not you're going to have to re-download another 50 gigabytes when the actual game comes out, is not presently known, but I would anticipate the answer to that question is going to be a yes. At the end of yesterday's video, I also mentioned how the PC system requirements were distributed for Fallout 76. I just kind of mentioned them, I didn't really look any more detail into it, and it seems like that Fallout 76 on PC is going to be a more difficult game to run than Fallout 4. So just using the old test that, oh, if you could run Fallout 4, you'll be able to run Fallout 76 is not going to be accurate. I tried to do a direct comparison between the two specs and something odd actually stood out to me. So as far as graphics cards go, on the recommended specs for Fallout 76, this via Steam, it recommends that you have an NVIDIA GTX 780 3GB or AMD Radeon R9 290X 4GB. It does it like a slash. You could have either this or that, and that's what's recommended to run Fallout 4 on PC. Well, for Fallout 76, something particularly interesting, the minimum graphics are the NVIDIA GTX 780, while the recommended graphics are the AMD R9 290X 4GB. So what was previously just the recommended has now been split up into the minimum and the recommended. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of this. It seems like overall, based on these specs as a whole, that it will be harder to run, plus just logically, having other players, having a larger map, all those things do factor in. So if you could run Fallout 4 comfortably, you'll probably be okay. But if you're really struggling to get that game running on your PC, you might have a lot more issue with Fallout 76. And actually, as I was midway through editing this video, we got a little bit more news, and this one being kind of cool. The schedule for the next week or so of anticipated play sessions in Fallout 76 has been released. So we have the two that we already knew about, that being October 27th and 28th. I will be live streaming on those, so if you do want to check it out, you can subscribe. Then we also got some of the PC sessions. So like I actually speculated earlier in this video, yes, it's going to be identical for the first day when it's released on PC and PS4. You get it for 4 hours. But after that, it looks like things really do start to ramp up. You get 4 hours on the first day, then 5 hours on the second day, another 4 hours, and then 7 hours on November 4th. For some of those longer sessions, I don't know if I'm going to be able to live stream the entire time, but I'm really excited to get this game on PC. I think it's going to be a ton of fun on that platform in particular. And I think this is really good. I think just in general, this is something we should praise Bethesda for. There's a lot of backlash with the way they were handling it previously, and I feel like this is them doing a good job at communicating. They're upfront about how much time we're going to get to play, and at least somewhat it looks like they are just giving us less time in the beginning sessions to really hammer down and fix some of those bugs, and allowing longer play sessions in the later ones because, hypothetically speaking, a lot of those bugs should be fixed and the game should be more stable. There should be less work for them to do behind the scenes. And also, to be clear, the wording of this is anticipated sessions, so if one of these ends up getting modified or changed, I wouldn't freak out. Either way, this looks really good, and I'm excited to get to play this with all of you. But as an aside, it makes it even odder, that whole week-long exclusivity on Xbox. Xbox users got the beta a week early, but could only play for 8 hours. That compared to the second week where you get 20 hours of gameplay. I know a lot of people were joking about it, but I do really wonder how much Microsoft paid to get that early on Xbox. I mean, at least for me personally, I bought an Xbox One X in the deal, so Microsoft probably made some money off that, and just pre-orders in general being on their platform rather than other ones. But either way, again, I think this should put a lot of the controversy to rest. There's going to be a lot of time to play Fallout 76 in the next week, and well, that's pretty awesome. Fallout 76 is getting a Prima guide. Some games still actually get those things, and this is one of them. This seems like one of those games where it actually might be kind of useful, but either way, the preview images for those guides have gone up. You can buy an ebook version of the guide right now. You won't get it until November 14th. I actually got like a press guide with my press copy of the game, but they didn't really have any crazy new information in there. But either way, from these preview images, it actually does have some new information, some stuff we didn't know about Fallout 76. I'll have a link down below to the Amazon website. You could just kind of see the images there, open them in a new tab. But one of the most interesting things I have seen thus far is actually this new thing, enemy threat levels. It's more or less going to show you roughly the levels of enemies in some of the various regions of this game. Here you can see pretty obviously how the forest, more or less the starting region of this game, is the lowest level. Then the Toxic Valley and Ash Heap do ramp things up a little bit. The Savage Divide having the largest range, but then the final two actually being some of those higher level zones where you're almost guaranteed to see somebody who's going to be a pretty big fight, especially early on. If you want a better idea, here's like a map of all the different regions so you can kind of visualize where some of these high level enemies will be. In addition, they actually mention on this post that certain places, particularly in Savage Divide, the Mire, and Cranberry Bog, will actually have these fissures. We've heard about these in the past. Apparently, the purpose of nukes is to close up some of these fissures so Scorch Beasts can't come from underground anymore. Well, either way, apparently these fissures are going to be notable places for high-level enemies to spawn consistently. Like if you go to this place, there will always be a high-level enemy there. Outside of that, just in some of these shared images, you could actually get descriptions of all the different regions that are in this game, that being 6. But even beyond that, on that same page, you could read about some of the different factions. It's only a short description, but like for the Brotherhood of Steel, you could find out a little bit more backstory as to why they're here, who actually was leading the Brotherhood of Steel in this region, but also on the Free States, the Raiders, and a few others. And then finally, the other pretty major takeaway from all of this is actually a bunch of new perk cards. There's actually a Reddit post right now compiling a list of every known perk card, and that website I showed you guys a little while ago where you can configure your own perk card or really special build has been updated daily, so all the new perk cards we have found out about as a result of this, but also the in-game gameplay, have been added to that. It's pretty much one of the best resources right now for learning about these new perk cards. And then finally, for PS4 users, now you can actually start downloading this game. The preload for this is also available. For those of you who bought a physical copy, you're going to have to go onto your Bethesda.net account and actually go to the details section to get your code and redeem it on your PS4. I don't know the exact download size as of right now, but I'm going to presume it's around 47 gigabytes, just like on PC and Xbox One. That pretty much wraps it up for the Fallout section of this video. A little bit later today, I am planning on doing a Red Dead Redemption 2 live stream. If you guys do want to check it out or tune in, you can subscribe. But otherwise, we're actually going to have today's psychology fun fact of the day. And that's actually going to be on intelligence, something that some of you guys do have a lot of, and some of us read through YouTube comments and lose some of. So typically people associate intelligence with IQ tests, and although that is true, IQ tests do measure intelligence, only one aspect of intelligence depending on which theory you're subscribing to. The theory I'm looking at today more or less breaks intelligence down into 9 different categories. The standard IQ test measures the first 3 of those categories, that being some of the more obvious things like linguistics, your reading comprehension, how well you could speak, how wide is your vocabulary, visual spatial, which is more or less how you can imagine objects, actually modify them in a space. Maybe look at this one, be like, all right, if it's rotated this way and that way, then it'll be that object. And then logical mathematical, which is being able to think logically or have logical reasoning. But as I said, that's only the first 3 categories on this theory of intelligence. There's still 6 more that would not be measured by an IQ test. So if you took an IQ test and you didn't do too well, don't feel bad because there still might be hope for you in one of these other categories. The next 2 kind of constitute emotional intelligence. That's going to be interpersonal and intrapersonal. Interpersonal being the ability to understand and interact with others, while intrapersonal is actually the ability to understand yourself and look inwards and understand, what's going on in there. And something particularly interesting about this, even though a lot of people jump to that having low IQ could be pretty detrimental, especially in a criminal setting, like people that are dumb typically are criminals, in reality that's not a good correlation. A really good correlation though is with emotional intelligence and criminality. A lot of people that do have very bad emotional intelligence end up being criminals. This is typically because they can't detect empathy in others or simply just don't pick up on cues. They have bad interpersonal communication, so from a young age, they might resort to violence instead. Outside of that, you do have existential, being able to actually ponder the meaning of life and your own reality. Kinesthetic, which is basically your ability to dance well, handle objects well, more or less kind of things pertaining to what would make a good athlete. Musical, which is fairly self-explanatory, being able to play music well or understand different patterns in music. And then finally, naturalistic, which is the ability to see patterns in nature and actually discriminate between different living and dead things. So hopefully for some of you, this was helpful. You realize that even though maybe you're bad or low on intelligence in one of these categories, you make up for it in another one. Really, this theory encompasses the idea that a combination of certain ones of these types of intelligence can lead to really good life outcomes. The first three, which were on an IQ test, are the ones that are without a doubt popularized, but there's a lot of alternatives out there. Either way, it's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.